Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 189 of At Odds with Wrestling. Joe and Adam here to talk about wrestling. Adam, hello. How are you?
I'm doing good, Joe. This is the time of the year where I complain about how hot it is in my podcasting room. So we're going to have to make this a very short show because it's a moist 150 in this room right now.
You need like a humidifier? You need like a something? Todd runs the AC during when we record Long Box Heroes, but a lot of times what he'll do is, so like right now it's not super hot outside in the greater northeastern Pennsylvania area. I shut the windows, we don't have the air conditioning on, but what he'll do is he'll make sure that it's not blowing directly into the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Or what he'll do in other instances is he'll run it for a while at a very low temp so the room gets super cold, and then we just rush through everything.
Yeah, well, Todd has one of those industrial like meat locker air conditioners that like he's smuggled out of like some derelict meatpacking factory. That's why he's able to run one from across the house.
He's in the walk-in freezer at the Cinnabon. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Got to keep the buns cold. And but yeah, my air conditioner, when it's in, and it's not in yet, and this is all riveting podcasting, but it's like a foot away from where I record, so that's not happening.
Gotcha. Like, we haven't turned the central air or nothing on yet. We have a call out to someone because last year when we were running it, like, it ran, but it sounded like it was being kick-started when it was being turned on,
Yeah.
And it's still window weather for right now. Just not while we're recording the podcast,
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, if it's any consolation, I'm not wearing any pants, so I'm keeping everything nice and cool right now.
Fair enough.
I got to start cutting my t-shirts broski style, get some airflow.
All right. Again, you said that you need this to be a short show so you don't melt. So let's get right into it.
And now, At Odds with Wrestling presents This Day in Wrestling History.
All right. Light day, this day in wrestling history. Head-to-head, 1997, Nitro versus Raw. Nitro still an hour long because of the NBA playoffs. A drag of a show, right? Like Wrath taking on Scotty Riggs.
Oh, all right.
The final match that aired was Conan and Hugh Morris against Alex Wright and Ice Train. But this was the Go Home Nitro before Slamboree, and the Go Home angle was Eric Bischoff interviewing fake Sting and trying to pretend that it was real Sting until real Sting came out and bitched out fake Sting, and then Bischoff just left the ring.
Oh, riveting television. I like it.
Right, that was the Go Home angle. Now, on the other hand, over on Monday Night Raw, we've got not one, not two, but three huge moments in the world of sports and entertainment. So we have the Legion of Doom taking on JC Ice and Wolfie D of PG-13 of the Nation of Domination. This is one of a handful of matches that PG-13 got to wrestle in World Wrestling Entertainment, and this was essentially their write-off from the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, see you later, right?
But this match is hilarious. You should definitely go and watch it. Like, it's a fun squash match.
Okay.
Also, on this episode of Monday Night Raw, was the debut of Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam.
I hope you were doing the thumb points when you were saying that.
Of course I was. So, whether we knew it or didn't know it at the time, there were a lot of people from ECW that were either defecting or going to be defecting to World Championship Wrestling. We would later find out that possibly Todd Gordon was the one that was like releasing information to Kevin Sullivan, who in turn was releasing information to Eric Bischoff so he could make deals to people like Raven and Perry Saturn and so on and so forth. This was kind of like an unspoken thing on like the early days of the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Saturday prior to this, it's not on this day, but there was an ECW arena show. RVD had lost his match and cuts this promo afterwards that says the next time you see RVD, it's going to be on Monday nights, to huge boos, right?
Yeah.
Because of everything that was going on, everyone assumed he meant Nitro. So when he shows up on Monday Night Raw, like, it was a huge shock. But even more of a huge shock that, like, we would, like, learn later on, especially as the summer goes on, that WWE was just keeping ECW afloat by not only giving them talent that were under WWE contract that Paul didn't have to pay for, but also essentially fronting Paul money to stay alive until they got real TV, so that there was a viable third brand. We saw earlier in the year where the BWO show up on Monday Nitro or on Monday Night Raw. But, like, we get, Justin Credible and Al Snow and a bunch of other people that are under WWF contract over the next several months that go to ECW. And part of the deal is, like, Paul doesn't have to pay them because they're being paid on their WWF contracts.
Yeah, I say this with a wink, but this is your original Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
Like, at watching this back in the day, because... again, what's this, 97? So I'm 17 years old. All I know is what I hear in, like, an AOL chat room. I don't know no contract stuff or sharing of talent. So to watch this on television and to love ECW, you're seeing your favorites pop up over in Raw and then, like, be back on ECW television a few weeks later or whatever. So it was just mind blowing,
And last but not least, there's a show. What was that?
I was going to say you're burying the fact that RVD beat Jeff Hardy.
Right. Well, Jeff Hardy, this was pre-Jeff Hardy, right?
Yeah, it's Jabron Jeff Hardy.
That's right. He was like, whatever, they had like the plaid tights and they were doing jobs to he was like nobody. Yeah, it was just a bum. But like, so how crazy, like, is this a match? 1997, and I think this would end up being like a pay-per-view match for the hardcore title like 4 years later,
Yeah.
Just the way wrestling works sometimes. But I'd say the big thing was the show closing angle between Brett and Shawn. Another great Brett promo where he calls Shawn like a self-professed degenerate. So one would say that this is probably the seeds of, like, the D-Generation X name. I hope they've been cutting Brett a check for that over these last several years. But this was one of those times where, Brett's kind of rolling and, like, they're running out of TV time and it's supposed to end. Like, there's a go-home line that Brett is supposed to say that cues Shawn to super kick Brett while he's in the wheelchair, and then that's how the show goes off. And, and say what you will about Bruce Pritchard, but, when it comes to stuff like this, that there's, factual proof that we can kind of back it up with, that, Brett's going and going and going, and Brett's getting cues from camera people. He's getting cues from everyone, and he's just ignoring them, right?
Yep. Very selfish, Brett.
Oh, yeah. So then, like, the camera people just, like, a couple of the camera people just put their cameras down, and, like, production's like, what's going on? It's like, we're out of time. We're off the air. They still kept filming it, and I remember them showing it on the weekend syndication before they showed it on, like, the following week's Raw, where Shawn finally does the super kick to take Brett out of the wheelchair. But again, this is furthering this dissension. This was what was a friendly rivalry has now become a rivalry between Brett and Shawn.
Yeah, and I definitely wasn't needling any people on Twitter earlier today regarding this topic, but again, it's just a typical example of that spotlight hog, Bret Hart, trying to take the thunder away from the better guy, Shawn Michaels. I'm just glad, as you said, the camera still rolled and we were all able to see the true payoff of Bret's stammering and meandering promo, which was him eating a super kick to the mush. Yep.
So is there anything else this day in wrestling history?
You know what? I do have it this day in history just because it popped up in my timeline on Facebook. It's not wrestling related, but I feel like it's very important. And this will pop a few people. But 2 years ago to this day, one of my favorite spokespeople ever returned to television, and that's Lily, the AT&T spokesgirl. She came back to promoting AT&T after like a 4 or 5 year hiatus, and those were some dark years, I just want to say. But according to Facebook, 2 years ago today, she returned, and everybody's lives just got a little bit brighter, and I just wanted to shout that out.
It's also my wife's birthday today. It's not wrestling related.
Well, there. See, we can every once in a while we can mix it up a little bit.
I guess.
I'll tell you what, I would pay money to see Lily in a match.
What if they hired the actress who played Lily in the AT&T commercials to be the living embodiment of Lily, the stupid doll that Alexa Bliss carries around?
You know what? I am fantasy booking that later.
Well, one of those words are correct. So, hey, let's talk about wrestling from these last 7 days, huh? There was some wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Joe, I'm going to start things off with the thing that obviously if you're tuning into this podcast, you know, knowing you and knowing me and our experiences over the last couple of days, this is going to be the thing that we're going to start the show off with. And that is, of course, the return of Alexa Bliss to Monday Night Raw. And I just want to say I was doing on Monday night what just about everybody in America was doing with their television, and that is, of course, watching a DVR'd copy of 90 Day Fiancé. And I'm scrolling through the Major Wrestling Facebook group, and somebody posted a picture of their Ultimate, which is the spooky Alexa, and they said, "Oh man, I just got this today, and it's already, you know, obsolete." And I let out an audible gasp, and I stopped what I was doing, and I actually put on Monday Night Raw for the first time with any kind of enthusiasm in a while. But I just want to say, obviously, we have the return of like a kind of spooky Alexa. Like there's some hints of it. She came back in some great new gear that accentuates the positives, hides the negatives, and she has at least the banger opening of her music. For those without as observant ears as I have, her music starts off with the old style, then it kind of changes to the spooky version. But obviously she came out as a surprise return, squashed Sonya Deville. She still has the stupid doll, but I will take it at this point and give her all the belts, strap her up.
I'm glad she's back. I'm glad she has the opening to the music because that gets me pumped up.
Yep.
And I'm sad that she still has the stupid doll with her. This could have been a clean break for them to go forward and just kind of ignore like the last like year and change of like Fiend nonsense.
Yeah.
And just have her be like something different, you know?
Go back to what it was pre-Fiend. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Something.
Yeah. But, and I was going to say, I also hate the fact that, we both acknowledge that her music is really, really good, and you don't need to have the ring announcer like the way they did, because obviously, what was it? Was the ring announcer that announced her, or the backstage guy? I forget. Adam.
It was, I think they just did a thing like, oh, and here's your opponent, the return. Yeah. Adam Pearce said it. Yeah.
Yeah, so Pearce said it. So, like, you could have just played the music and got the pop, but instead they announced the name, and then the music starts, and you don't see, like, the Titantron or anything. They show the crowd. I hate the way that all that's produced, you know? Just play the damn music and let it get a reaction.
Right.
Anyways.
So I'd like to talk about the MJF segment on Dynamite this week.
Okay.
Outside of two lines where he says about how his contract is up in 2024, which again was more perpetrated. And if you believe that MJF is today considering going to World Wrestling Entertainment in 2 years' time, I have a bridge and a back scratcher to sell you. But that line and the fact that he says that someone in the back doesn't like him bringing that up. Other than those two lines, This is how MJF should be all the time. I thought this was great. You know, he was being a heel a little bit even to his hometown crowd that loves him. The Dark Side of the Ring deal where they had the recreation mixed in with the real life footage, and they had Jericho doing the voiceover, and then they had the interviews with the old timers and stuff. And then even, with the bit where Wardlow's trying to sign, but he can't sign because the cuffs, and MJF just like his own hubris is just like, yeah, take the cuffs off so he can sign, like,
Yeah.
we all saw what was going to happen, but like, that's like perfect pro wrestling. And like MJF didn't do any like weird, like dumb stuff that he usually does. Like, this was the perfect MJF segment.
Yeah, it almost made, and I say this almost, but it almost made Shawn Spears presentable. He was tolerable in that segment, if nothing less than like the NXT callback of the 10,
I'm okay with like, so it's so weird. Like when they were part of a group, right? I didn't like Shawn Spears, but him just as like when it's just him and Max, because those are the only two people left in that, and him just kind of being like that douchey, like, yeah guy alongside Max. I think that's a perfect spot for Shawn Spears as well.
Yeah, like, don't take him seriously. Let him almost be MJF's Stevie Richards,
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I like that.
I too like the segments, especially the Dark Side of the Ring stuff. Like, it's just a perfect fit that, Dark Side of the Ring is narrated by Jericho for the most part, and you have access to Jericho. Yeah. And the fact that he acknowledged that, like, why am I doing this? Which, for a second, I'm gonna take umbrage with, because Jericho is a heel and MJF is a heel, so you would think Jericho would be up for it. But like, this goes back to him playing both sides. Like when he's on commentary and he's almost a babyface sometimes. So that does bug me that he's like, oh, MJF's a dick. Why would I do this? Oh, I'm getting paid. So it kind of makes sense. But I liked, again, you mentioned Taz, Jake Roberts, Barry Horowitz, all of them being in that. That was all great. I obviously, anytime Wardlow gets to destroy the local guys, including CPA, that was pretty fun. And CPA. I like what's that? Yeah, poor CPA. I saw that Ed was asking CPA for the shirt, and this happened, like, I saw that tweet before I saw the actual footage because I was a little behind, and poor guy had the shirt ripped as he was being thrown out of the ring, so doesn't even get to take home a memento. But I like the fact that, like, Book Too Good Ida's Smart Mark is, like, now actively with MJF as well. Like, he had been originally back in the day, but now obviously he's with Hot Goldberg, he's with Tony Nese, he's with MJF. So I like all that stuff. I'm looking forward to where this goes. Maybe not necessarily the steel cage with Shawn Spears, but yeah, I agree. This is a good segment. And MJF kind of playing it up that he's, the hometown hero, the most magical place on earth is Long Island. But then, as you said, even taking digs, like saying that the people in the back are the poor people, like all the way at the top, in the poor seats. It was a very good promo, other than, like you said, the bidding war of 2024. I get it. I'm not a fan either,
Right. So that's really all I got.
All right. Well, I mean, I was going to talk about Tony Storm versus Jamie Hayter, or the fact that Veer squashed some dude named Frank Loman, looked really familiar. But I guess we'll talk about the LVAC Bash at the Brewery this past weekend, right?
Sure.
So, Joe, you and I think, had relatively different experiences over the weekend. So, obviously, I got there much later than you did due to different call times for both of us. But anything you want to talk about before the doors open? Any kind of interesting stories or that you won't get buried for telling?
Emphasis on won't get buried for telling. So, obviously I drove down by myself, and I was maybe directly shamed and indirectly shamed by people. It's like, oh, we could have rode down together, or we could have did this, or we could have did that. And I'm like, I like driving by myself, especially in like a short drive like this. But it sucked because it was raining so much.
Oh yeah.
And especially on the way home, since it was still raining, and I'm old and I don't get out very much. I don't like driving at night in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to the building. I'm early. I'm ahead of call time. I come in. And I knew, who all was going to be there. But on my way there, I was talking to Bryce to talk about the opening segment of the show, right? Where we're going to present the plaque to Avery Good, okay?
Yeah.
So as Bryce is telling me about this on the phone, that he's going to be there late and so on and so forth, and I'm like, Bryce, this is the first I'm hearing of this. And he's like, oh, well, Mantis told me about this like weeks ago. And I'm like, Bryce, I'm the last one to know anything, right?
Yeah.
So I get there and I'm looking at the sheet for the opening segment of like who the people are going to be there. And then it turns out like there's more people that end up being there that aren't on the sheet. And then like this one couldn't be there because they got COVID. This one couldn't be there because they said, you know, well, I'm hurt, but I'll still come. And then the day of, they're like, I'm not coming now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you, Adam, knowing how the layout was since you were there, you know where the entranceway was?
Yep.
The band was?
Okay, yeah, the band was on
like
the band was on the far side of the entrance.
Yeah, well, right. So, but there was a band like right next to the entranceway.
Okay, yeah, okay, and yeah, I remember now.
Okay, that's where commentary was originally set up.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Right. And on my way down, Chris from LVAC is sending me pictures how nice the setup is and like all this other stuff, and I'm like, that looks great, right? And then Smart Mark shows up and they're like, this won't work. We need to like be hardwired to the hard cam. Like hard cam needs to be hardwired into you guys, and we need to be on this side as opposed to this side. So then we had to like find other tables and move everything across the building to get commentary set up on the other side so that it's right next to where Smart Mark needed all their stuff set up. And again, if it's not set up the way that they want it, the show don't get taped and the show don't go out live. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't speak for like what your experience was on commentary, but like I watched it back over the last couple days.
Oh, look at you.
There was a couple times where there was some fighting in the crowd, and like not to get ahead of myself, but Abby Jane comes out and kind of chases off Sydney Bacabella, and because Abby's very small and Sydney's not exactly a skyscraper, they were kind of lost in the crowd, and I'm sure you guys didn't see it because you didn't mention it on commentary. So you guys kind of need to be in a more elevated position, because I'm sure it was difficult to see with all the people standing in front of you.
Well, and that's so the other thing is like sometimes we might need to be tipped off to certain things. Like there was a thing that happened before the 10-man that I kind of helped orchestrate to make sure that it happened. And if you watched the show, maybe you noticed. If you didn't, you didn't, maybe go back and watch like the preamble to that match. But like when it was presented to me and I'm putting it, like I'm helping putting it together, I wanted it to be like on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like what you saw. And then I think what we ended up seeing was like a 6. So it might have showed like their hand a little bit sooner. But again, I don't have the final say on anything,
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was by the time that we got to like the second or third match and like people are standing up and there's like a lot of mat work or people fighting on the outside, we just kind of moved ourselves over so we could see the setup that Smart Mark and IWTV had on their screens. So we were like calling what was on the screens.
Yeah.
And they even offered that they can kind of like move the screen over by us so we had a better shot of it. But for the most part, we were okay. But I don't think we're going to be running that venue anytime soon, so we don't really have to worry about it. But again, it's always a lot of like learning, growing pains when you're at a building like that,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so like as far as me going down, you might have, if you listen to Longbox Heroes After Dark in the correct listening order, some of this might have been told already, but myself, our friend Dave Holden, and Todd Roker made the surprise appearance at the LVAC. And obviously we're trying to hide Todd. We have a towel over his head the whole time. We don't want anybody to see him slipping into the arena. But, we get there, and as you said, it is pouring. I am, of course, wearing, as advertised, the Broski purple leather jacket. And it's just, we're getting soaked. And the line to get in was going real slow. And I don't like the fact, and this is just me grumbling, and it's not, I don't take anything personally to anybody, but if you advertise, hey, you need to have a Vax card or a proof of a negative test, they were still allowing people to get tested on the spot, which I get it. You want to let people in, but it's not like the LVAC did not hammer this down people's throat. And I feel like if you show up and you disregard those two things, then you know what, boo-hoo to you, you're not coming in. So that's just me. And that opinion might not reflect anybody else's, but that kind of held up getting in. So when we were coming in, we were all just soggy messes. But with that being said, I am a very cheap date when it comes to drinking alcohol. So normally I'm just like, oh, give me a Miller Lite or whatever else is just like cheap and light and I can drink a bunch of them. But here's the thing, Joe. I was at a brewery and apparently those Champion Cream Ales have a very high alcohol concentration to them. So, all of us, myself, Todd, maybe some other people in the soon-to-be-named network who also partake, were kind of alternating, going back and forth on getting rounds. And, once the show started, as anybody who watched this on live on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium can attest, myself, Todd, and Dave were right there on hard cam side, just trying to mug to the camera. And I was enjoying the very much of the beginning half of the show. And then as the show went on, I started wandering and I was firing off tweets a lot. And then I was making Dave hold my beer while I tweeted. I feel like this is the closest I'll ever get to being Ed Cody, because this is what it's like to be him on an EAW show. But after that, I was just kind of lingering around. I was going outside and stuff like that. And there was even a point like towards the end of the show, and I know we're bouncing all around here, but towards the end of the show, I know Avery Good was wrestling Abby, and then I went outside and came back in, and I'm like, I'm either really drunk or that's Mr. Touchdown. What happened? So things changed, but I had like a really, really good time at the show. And most importantly, Joe, I know I got to get a lot of Mark photos that I tweeted out, but mission accomplished. I'm on the battleship with the big banner behind me. I got my Mark photo with Avery Good. Might have been my last opportunity ever to do that. And I said I was going to do it, and I got it done. I might have been, and I apologize to him and to anybody around him. I don't remember the interaction I had with him. I just remember going up to him and be like, hey, can I get a picture? So I hope I was respectful. But I had a really, really good time. And I need to moderate myself if I'm going to a brewery to watch a wrestling show.
Well, next time yes. It's there, I'll make sure that you behave. But no, there was a lot of people there that I didn't expect to be there. Like you had said, Mr. Touchdown was there. My friend Derek, who I haven't seen in a while, he'll show up every now and then at one of the Sokol shows just to sneak in, say hi, and sneak out. Hydra, Mantis is always good to see. Surprise appearance by Orange Cassidy. People the card ever changing throughout the weeks and the days and everything else leading up to it. And a lot of the pictures going around, of course. I think Adam tweeted out, excuse me, hang on, let me, there's a big group picture of everyone kind of backstage post whatever, and I'm glad that I got roped into that. Adam did have a couple pictures of me and again, loud and noxious Jack coming out for us to do commentary, which was part of that whole thing that I was unaware of until we got there. And I do like that you not only took a picture but included it of me being the second least athletic person getting into the ring that day.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad. I was not expecting you to come out like that either, because I don't believe you've done that in any of the LVAC shows that I've been to, at least. Yeah, so it was a nice little surprise. And just to, again, I watched this back on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium, and I just want to point out there was a lot of inconsistency. I don't know if you realize this, and maybe it's just you slipping back into old habits, but when you grab the mic, you introduce yourself as Leonard F. Chikarason.
Oh, I did?
You did. And you were introduced as Diamond Joe Sposto by Vlad.
It's supposed to be Diamond Joe Leonard, but right.
No, I'm 90% sure, because I just watched this yesterday and I made a note. I'm pretty sure he said Diamond Joe Sposto.
No, I get that. But
okay. Yeah,
right.
Okay.
It's supposed to be Diamond Joe Leonard.
Yes.
So he said the wrong thing, and I called myself the wrong thing.
Yeah, so he called you Diamond Joe Sposto. You called yourself Leonard F. Chikarason. And then when you got on commentary, when you and Loud and Noxious, you then said Diamond Joe Leonard. So there was a little bit of continuity issues there, but I just found it funny that, you get yourself in front of a crowd with a mic in your hand, you slip back into an old persona. I thought that was interesting.
So I'll just like I said, I'll say this.
Yep.
Didn't want to get in the ring. I think it could have been done without me since we were getting tossed anyway. But the consensus was that I should.
Yeah, no, I think you
and
are
I wish
too
I
hard on
would have
yourself.
known because I would have dressed a little bit better.
Would you take the old suit out of the trunk?
I wouldn't have taken the suit out of the trunk, but I at least would have gotten a haircut. I might have worn a collared shirt. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have looked like the homeless person that I typically look like. But again, I found out about it as I was 3/4 of the way to the building. Bryce calls me. He's like, "Hey, what do you have planned for this?" And I'm like, "I got nothing because it's the first we're talking about it, right?"
Yeah.
There was also a bit where the plaque that Avery Good got, he was supposed to break the plaque. But then we were told that the plaque was too expensive for him to break. So he should just spit on it or throw it down, but please don't break it.
When you called me over to the commentary station, you showed me that plaque. I wish I had gotten a selfie with it or something. I really, again, I wasn't thinking clearly.
No,
but regarding you getting into the ring, and it maybe not being the most graceful slide, I think you have two options going forward. For any future in-ring appearances, I want you to either do the full run and slide, like one of the Jeff Hardy, or you have to do the jump up to the apron like Brock Lesnar.
I was gonna say I could do the run and slide like Jeff Hardy, and then I'm dead. It's gonna be like when Vince blew out both of his quads.
I don't want to see that. And just real quick, because it's in my notes here, regarding me rewatching the show, because again, I wanted to make sure that I was able to not only see the whole show in its entirety, but I also wanted to just real quick get an analysis of your commentary, because I know that you like it when I critique your commentary. I just want to say not a single reference to me, so I'm a little upset about that. However, Joe, once again, you slip in your best friend, Ed, gets a mention when you say, "My friend Ed, who's a prominent person in wrestling." You said that during the trios match. So I want to make sure that goes on record. Also, you plugged the upcoming Helmet podcast between Todd and a certain someone.
Right.
And Gavin does seem interested in it. So there's a listener. But yeah, I just wanted to make those references. And once again, good job on commentary. I enjoyed the presentation of the live on tape broadcast.
Several times during the opening contest, I had direct tweets from Ed saying, saying, "Last time they did a live show, I tweeted at Joe to make an Eric the Midget, Eric the Actor reference, and he did." And it's like, well, the first match is over. He didn't do it. I guess he didn't see this tweet. So I'm just like, I got to get it out of the way, right?
Yeah.
And Ed is a prominent wrestling personality, so, you're not.
I feel like I'm not that far off, though. I don't know. However, you did also, and here's the kicker, man. You're not going to throw me a reference, but you of all people made a Pad the Lope reference?
Right.
God, if you're going to say one thing that's annoying and objectionable, you might as well mention me.
So if you are this vain, then you need to give me a heads up ahead of time that I need to make some sort of reference to you on live commentary. A lot of times it's just like a spur of the moment sort of thing, like an idea will come up or somebody will say something or somebody will do something. But I would say most importantly, I didn't swear the whole time.
That's true. But I was on hard cam, so I was expecting some kind of reference to the jacket, but maybe next time. Actually, no. You know what? I realized as I was standing outside getting waterlogged that this might be a first time, last time, only time with wearing the jacket out. I think it needs to go behind glass in like a temperature controlled area. And this was, you know what? I wore it out. I said I was going to. I got my mark picks with it. The members of the soon to be named network were lucky enough to get their mark pick with the jacket. So I think it served its purpose. It's time to retire the jacket.
Right. But like I said, I was very happy to see a lot of people there, whether it be people that were on the show, at the show, people I haven't seen in months, people I haven't seen in years. I got a chance to see my friend Pelly as he was running through the locker room to use the private bathroom there because the lines were too long and he was going to shit his pants, and that would have been a whole thing if he did that. I don't know. There might be more to that story. Who knows? That I heard later when we went to the diner, a whole crew of us, all the soon-to-be-named network folks, as Adam mentioned himself, Dave, Todd, myself, DJ, Brett, and Erica, Boar, and Tim, not the Tool Man, co-host of Viewer's Choice and Final Wrestling Place. We all went to a diner. We all had a good time, a lot of good fun conversation, and it was good to be back into the old tradition of going to a wrestling show like that,
Yeah.
But I can't do that all the time.
Having a diner that is actually open past 10
Yeah.
p.m.
That's how you know the world is opening back up. Diners are open back again 24 hours.
Exactly. And I just want to say, very surprising to find out that Todd and Erica are kindred spirits when it comes to Smokey and the Bandit.
Right.
So that's an interesting, a budding, blossoming friendship there, I'd say.
Uh-huh.
But other than me, doing wind sprints in the parking lot and trying to take selfies and not knowing how to flip the camera around until DJ told me to do it, called me an idiot, but justifiably so.
Right.
Like I said, I had a blast. Spoiler for weekly purchases later, but I managed to take home some swag, and like you said, it was good to see people. I don't know nearly as many people as you do, but good to see the people in the Soon to Be Named Network. I ran into some folks from the Mystery Men. Just an overall great experience.
Right. And that reminds me, I think we may share a weekly purchase. I forgot about it. Like I said, it's been a hectic last 7 days.
Yeah,
but you getting a chance to watch the show back, obviously in a not altered state of mind with the commentary, so on and so forth. Did you enjoy the show at least?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'd say that just about every single competitor except for maybe one was really, really good. I enjoyed all the matches. I like the Avery Good stuff. I get it. He's healing the camera. I loved the bit at the beginning where he's just like, where the hell have all of you been for the last 17 years? I loved all of that.
Right.
The match with Touchdown being a surprise, delivered. Angela Setti, for somebody who hasn't wrestled in 5 years, looks like to be in great shape.
So I need to correct. I was saying 5. It was actually 3. I screwed that up.
But even if he didn't wrestle in a year, he looked like he was in great shape,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the show. It's saved to my Jerry.TV watch list. This is something that 5 years from now, I'll assign as homework one day,
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, I like the show a lot. Obviously, he had a bum wheel, but I made it a point to tell him at the time. But the Boar, of course, 0 bumps, not even close to one.
Right.
But yeah, it was a really fun show. I liked just about everything.
Perfect. And like I said, 5 years from now, we're still doing this show. We're still assigning homework. Statute of limitations could be up. So, you never know.
Absolutely.
So speaking of homework, I do have a show to assign us. Obviously in the hecticness, I didn't get a chance to watch in the last 7 days. It happened as we were recording live last week. And that would be AIW's Cibernetico de Mayo show from the Winchester. Cheech and Colin versus members only. Isaiah Bronner versus Jeffrey John. A lot of debuts as the team Money Shot take on the Von Englands. Johnny Patch takes on Riley Rose. 9 to 5 take on the Bang Bros. Katie Arquette takes on Jocelyn Navarro, and the Cibernetico team Casey Carrington takes on Team Dom Guarini. Don't go by the team listings on Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium. I think they're wrong. of who's on what teams. But again, let's not split hairs. And it's, it's a show that's spoiled. Everything's already out there because they're advertising for next week's show, which will not be streaming live just because the place in Akron, whose name I forget, has bad internet service, but that typically goes up very quickly. And the main event of that show is Dom Guarini against Adam's Toy Boy.
I'm very torn on this. Obviously, on one hand, I got a buddy of mine that I talk to on the internet, and I've have a relationship with, and on the other hand, I have Dom Guarini. I don't know which way to go. I'm kidding. Obviously, I am rooting for Dom in this, but I kind of want Broski's title reign to last maybe into June, like June 17th. I don't know, but whatever will be, will be.
So, I'll say this. There's a lot of times professional wrestling, maybe, there's people, there's elements, there's situations where even in my old age, and I say even in my old age, in the last, 20 years or so, where I let the veil wash over me, right? Where I kind of lose myself in the story and the pageantry and the everything else, right?
Yes.
Dom's gonna fucking kill Broski, and it's gonna be glorious. He's gonna win both those belts, and this is gonna be the last time you're gonna see fucking Broski in AIW. I saw Broski tweet out that he's gonna come in early and go to Cedar Point the day before. Again, he's lucky he's not going the day after, because Dom ain't gonna break his leg so he can get in a wheelchair and get to the front of the lines. Dom's gonna break his neck, so he's wearing a halo, and those big shoulder things in the roller coasters won't get down over his head, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And listen, Broski's a nice guy, whatever it is, but Dom's gonna make orphans of Dude and Kylo, okay? Because once Broski's gone, Chelsea ain't keeping those animals. She ain't keeping those dolls. She's just gonna leave that house abandoned, right?
yeah. There's gonna be a Chelsea-sized cutout in the wall, like in a cartoon.
Right. And listen, I don't know how things work in AIW these days regarding contracts or, any sort of legalities of things, but I have noticed some more recent pictures of Dom. He's been growing a Fu Manchu mustache.
Okay.
Just to stroke. And just to say the immortal lines. That don't work for me, brother. Because again, you could say that. You could be cute and say it, but if you don't have the Fu Manchu, and you don't cite paragraph 11, subsection E, then you ain't doing it right. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I get you. All you.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Again,
but,
short, sweet, unless Broski does his bullshit Memphis stall at the beginning. Dom's no dummy. Dom's heard the worst and the best people who claim to know that Memphis style. And listen, Dom Dom's gonna make Broski look like Bo James when he's done.
I think that you
and I might get some heat from that. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I think that Dom just beats the tar out of Broski for 15 minutes. Just is like Brock Lesnar murdering him, but then PME comes out, saves some kind of schmaz. Broski retains, and then the rematch, Joe, should be June 17th at the Odeon. I think that would be a better use of all parties involved. You got to build the heats because this Dom versus Broski thing's just coming out of nowhere. So I think you need to maybe let it linger a little bit. I think that's the better course of action.
And hey, I want to say Thorne and AIW tweeted out today, Gauntlet for the Gold. There's going to be some surprises. And I did I can't do I can't do Rub's Fu Manchu emoji, so Rub's chin emoji. I don't want people to think that I'm going to be there. I don't want people to get your hopes lowered and think that I'm the fucking surprise of all things, right?
Well, would you come out of the box or would you have the lights go out?
No, I would. Well, I would do neat. I would come up from underneath the ring. Maybe I'd cut a hole in the ring and come up that way. I think I'm opening my pool that weekend. I'll be having a blast.
Oh, okay.
But no, it's like, the Gauntlet for the Gold is like a Royal Rumble style thing. You're going to see some old faces. You're going to see some new faces, maybe making their debut. This is how Matt Justice was kind of like out of the scene and out of AIW for the longest time. And he was supposed to be a one-off in a Gauntlet for the Gold years and years ago. And it ended up being a career resurgence for him. So it's just that sort of thing, don't expect me, but expect, some surprise.
Other surprises, yeah. I can think of some people I'd like to see, maybe from our neck of the woods. I know nothing, but I'm just, again, fantasy booking stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing some people, head over to AIW, and then, why not have some folks from AIW come over to LVAC? I think there could be a partnership here. This could be another Forbidden Door opening up.
Well, again. I don't know what to tell you about that. I could tell you, but I could tell you. So yeah, that's the homework. If you've already watched it, then hey, you're ahead of the game. You know what I mean? Your homework's already done. You can enjoy your weekend, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I did not get to watch it yet, but I was going to. And I say this all the time. I like it when something I was going to watch anyways is also going to serve a purpose. So
yeah.
All right, do it up.
All right, let's get into some voicemails, huh?
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Wayne, Missouri, calling in with my weekly SmackDown time, but this week's was a little different. Went actually 24 minutes, 2 seconds, and what I watched, I actually really enjoyed. Watched the Drew Gulak versus Walter match. Expected the outcome of that one, but it was still a fun match. Sami Zayn, Shinsuke, always fun to watch, and I watched the backstage stuff with Sami as well. Caught the end of the New Day, Sheamus, Ridge Holland thing with Butch coming out from under the ring. I don't understand that at all. And then I will have to admit that I watched Happy Time with Madcap Moss. And I've seen a lot of remarks about this online, but I noticed something with this one. I noticed that Madcap's insults were from a fan's perspective. Yes, we've seen Baron Corbin be 1,000 different things, and none of them have really fully connected with the fans. And honestly, I think if they keep that up, the character will actually become something and could serve as a catalyst for the 2 years of COVID and everything, where everything was just kind of on a treadmill or whatever you want to call it. I'm rambling here, so I will stop my call. I don't want it to get too long. But like I say, I think if they keep that up, they'll be able to kind of dig themselves out of the last 2 years of stagnant product on SmackDown. And I'm really hoping for it. Chat with you next week.
All right, before I get your rundown of what you watched, Joe, I just want to say I did not watch a second of the pay-per-view, WrestleMania Backlash. So on Monday, Tuesday, around then, when I was like, okay, I need to go and like kind of catch up with the wrestling that I missed, I just went to SmackDown and I hit delete. Like I was like, it's the go home show to a pay-per-view I didn't watch. So literally nothing is going to happen on this. So I did not watch a second of it.
So my SmackDown watching this week was 8.5 minutes. Okay. I watched the full Madcap Moss Happy Corbin segment. Mm-hmm. If I'm gonna watch WWE, I'm gonna watch the worst stuff.
Which is hard to pick out, but
well, the other thing that I watched was the Lacey Evans segment, because I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Adam. There's a twofer with the Lacey Evans stuff.
I'm not.
Have you seen any of the Lacey Evans promos?
I saw the first one, and I was like, okay, I know, I get what she's doing here. And then she went and did some weird stuff online, and I was like, all right, I'm out. I don't care what you're gonna do. So I haven't seen anything since the first one.
So for weeks they've been building up this hard life that she's had and how she's pulled herself up from her bootstraps, right?
Yep.
And her father was abusive and all these other things, and how tough she's worked, and like she has this catch line of like, the other women in the WWE can't work as hard as she can work, okay? So very clearly, they're positioning her as like a rah-rah military-esque babyface. So then, after the promo on Friday, she comes out in front of the live crowd. But before she comes out, the ring announcer says, Lacey Evans wants to make sure that you're all cheering extra loud for her when she comes out. And I'm like, that's weird.
Okay, I was gonna say that was like on television. That wasn't like
that
a live...
was on television, not on that scam site that I got the full LA Night segment from. So this was on television. So she comes out and they cheer for her, and she's slapping fans' hands, and I'm like, okay, but that was weird, right? And then on Monday, if you go to WWE's website, she's already moved over to Raw, and apparently she's being positioned as a heel on Raw. So it's almost as though these several weeks of promos to build her up as a new babyface character were for nothing.
WWE, everybody.
I did not watch WrestleMania Presents Backlash either, but I did watch bits and pieces of Raw. Oh, you know what I did watch?
Uh-oh.
And again, I'm not going to say that Tim might have slipped something into my drink on Friday, because you're not supposed to joke about those sort of things. But I did watch the Cody Rhodes Broken Skull sessions, the whole thing, and it was 2 hours long.
Did you like it?
Did I like it? Cody sure is a good bullshitter. And I could easily say that Cody Rhodes is the George Costanza of the World Wrestling Entertainment.
Because it's not a lie if you believe it.
That's right. That's right. Cody was very much romanticizing a lot of his run in the World Wrestling Entertainment pre-leaving. And I don't think Cody realizes 2006 to 2000, whenever the Yes Movement happened, that era of WWE, nobody remembers any of it. It just all happened in a vacuum. It's all interchangeable. If you showed me a match that happened during that time frame and said, guess what year this happened, I would have no fucking clue, right? Unless there was a plug for a movie or a TV show or something in there, right?
Yeah.
But he was very much romanticizing that. Obviously, if you love Cody, and especially love Cody being in World Wrestling Entertainment, the one thing that was really hammered home from the Broken Skull sessions, you better send that fruit basket to my sweet Brucey. Because Brucey's a big Dusty Rhodes guy, and, in a lot of his other interviews, Cody said that Bruce was the first one that reached out to him, and he mentions it here as well. And I could absolutely see all of this stuff with Cody winning the title that his dad never could being the Brucey idea.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to watch it, but I'm glad that you tolerated it.
Right, I'm not going to watch a Cody match, but I'll watch all the ancillary stuff,
Yeah. All right.
All right, you ready for the next call?
Yeah, I've been ready.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Adam. This is Tom Green. Normally I call in and I have a wacky bit to go into, but today I'm pissed off. I just watched that Ryan Nemeth movie, Heel, based on Talking to Bix, and it is absolute bullshit. I'm going to spoil the movie, and I might say things that would trigger up thoughts of sexual assault, so content warning there. Ryan Nemeth wrote a movie about how he's the hero of Speaking Out, even though he produced it before the Speaking Out movement, I believe. Essentially, the movie, it's about how a woman who was assaulted by a wrestler comes to him with her story of being assaulted in a private moment and trusts that he won't tell anybody. The wrestler accused of the assault happens to wear aviator sunglasses and do a spot where he makes people grab him in a sexual manner. and asked promoters to make him share hotel rooms with young women wrestling on the show with them. It's based on Joey Ryan. No matter what Ryan says, it's based on Joey Ryan. Ryan and his former roommate, who apparently they had a bad experience. And Ryan has a match with the Joey Ryan character, and shoots on him, like bloodies his face. Essentially, Ryan Nemeth is portrayed as a hero, as the hero of the story, not the victim or the survivor of the assault. Ryan Nemeth is the victim because he heard about the story, I guess. I don't know. Literally, the last half of the movie is just him acting out a fantasy about beating up Joey Ryan because they had a bad experience as roommates. It's really fucked up, and it's deplorable. And please, if you see the link, don't click on it. Like, what I'm describing to you is pretty much what happened. You don't need to see it for yourself. It's fucked up. And please don't give the guy clicks, because clicks will probably give him money and attention in some ways. Ryan Nemeth is a piece of shit. Fuck him. And I hope his life is not very pleasant in the future. Thank you. Bye.
All right, question for you, Joe. I think I saw some people talking about this on Twitter, but I have no idea. Like, is this like an actual movie, like a skit, like a 20-minute long thing, or is it like?
I think it's a short. It's not like a 90-minute narrative, but I think it's like a short film.
Gotcha. All right, yeah.
And I know he had been promoting it for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, and this part I'm half joking, half not joking, but the few times that I got a chance to meet Ryan Nemeth when he was being booked by AIW like 9-10 years ago, he was always nice to me. However, I say that half joking, half not. That doesn't absolve him from whatever this is, and I haven't seen it, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me privately and publicly. Like Tom just did here publicly, other people privately, saying how pissed off they are about this. And I know there was a lot of people that, like, before they got a chance to see the movie, kind of took Ryan at face value of what this was. And I think a lot of them feel as though they were sold a bill of goods by him. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't speak volumes for him. And maybe if him and Joey Ryan, his former roommate, didn't have a falling out, maybe he wouldn't have made a negative movie about Joey Ryan. Maybe this would have been a positive movie about Joey Ryan. Not that I recommend you going and watching it, but when Ryan Nemeth had his first or second retirement in wrestling, it was at a bar wrestling show, which was Joey Ryan's promotion. So, again, I get what he's trying to do, and I'm not excusing this if it's what Tom says it is and the other people that reached out to me that watched it. If you want to see it for yourself, as Tom said, don't get the link. I'll send you a torrent of it so that he's not making any money off of it,
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't know if Ryan... I'd like to think that Ryan Nemeth is not a bad person. Maybe he's just really stupid.
Fair enough.
Which doesn't make it any better, but at least, I'd like to think, because we have mutual friends that have supported him. And anyway, thank you for your call, Tom. Hope you're doing better today. Next call.
Hello, Adam. Hello, Joe. It's Jayhawk from IWTV Guide. First-time caller, long-time listener of the show. I've got to rant just a little bit here, because a friend of mine will remain nameless. It's getting late. A friend of mine who will remain nameless went to Bash at the Brewery, and I didn't get to see it live because my son was doing his play, Wizard of Oz. We got to play a Munchkin and a Winky, and he had a lot of fun. But I asked my friend Saturday morning, since I hadn't had a chance to watch the stream yet, how was Avery Good's match? And I get, well, my daughter's called Edith for real, and I call my favorite, because we left before the show was over. Avery Good's last match, and you don't even stay for the entire show. And maybe I'm a little too old school, but Like, I hate leaving before the end of the show. Like, I'm afraid I'm going to miss something. And it was always weird as my dad would never leave a baseball game early, even if the team went down like 15 runs. But by God, the end of wrestling, you got to beat the traffic.
Wow.
This just annoys me. Like, dude, it's the last match ever, and you're not going to stay to watch it live. You're going to wait to watch it on the stream. It's incredibly frustrating. Like, I'm upset I can't even watch it on TV live, and you're just going to leave in the middle of the show when you're there. All right, that's my rant for the day. I'm sorry. What do you guys think about, fans leaving before the end of the show or end of a sporting event? I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
He missed the last 3 matches of Avery Good. Right. We didn't mention this earlier in the show, but you literally got 3 matches. You got match 10, 11, and 12, which, one of them was a rematch. So I don't think I'd ever leave a wrestling show. Like, maybe if I was going to, like, Raw or something like that, which I don't do, and like the show proper went off and there was a dark match afterwards that I didn't care about, maybe I jump in the car to beat like arena traffic. But I would never leave an indie show early unless like the show blew, but I've never had that problem,
So obviously, Jay, thank you for your call. I can't speak for your friend. You said that he was there with his daughter. I don't know the age of the daughter. I know a lot of people were like, oh, April and Ace aren't here. And I'm like, well, April has work. She had just started her new job, and my kid would have hated being there. He'd just been miserable the whole time, right? He don't like wrestling, okay?
Yeah.
So maybe the kid was getting restless. Maybe the kid was being a pain in the ass, and you needed to get him home, right? Also, I don't know if maybe your friend had somebody else that was driving, and maybe he may not have been physically there, but maybe he streamed it live on like his phone or his device on the way home, okay?
Stop making excuses for him, Joe.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just presenting scenarios, right?
Yeah.
I will say this, though. There have been times where I have left a wrestling show early before it was over, but it wasn't because I wasn't enjoying the show. It was because I was removed for being too drunk.
Man, I can't stand people who just like can't handle their liquor, man.
There was a couple Ring of Honor shows in 2004 where I had to wait for the DVDs to come on. It wasn't like we're spoiled today where it's streaming and then it's available the next day. Like those Ring of Honor shows, you had to wait for the DVD to come out, and sometimes that could be weeks, if not months, right?
Yeah.
But there was a couple show where they had an open bar. You got a little too drunk. Maybe missed the main events a couple times because I was in no condition to sit in a chair and enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen anymore. I'm not that person anymore. I only drink in my house alone, the way that it should be.
Yeah, I say have fun at a wrestling show, but you need to stay for the whole thing. That's the only rule. All right, what else we got? Who's calling?
Next call.
Hey guys, Kevin here. So I was enjoying Raw and SmackDown just ever so much, and WrestleMania Backlash. Boy, what a wonderful show that was. And I got thinking about something a wise man named Raven once said. Now, I used to watch a ton of Raven shoot interviews way back when, and he pointed out that there's only a couple reasons for 2 people to fight. A title / money, revenge, or a woman. And that's pretty good, simple storytelling. Why are these 2 fighting? It should be for one of these reasons. And then you get WWE, and we have no title to fight over. Roman's in the 6-man match. He's taking time off. And not that someone's not allowed to take time off, but there should be a champion. In fact, there should be 2 champions, one for each show. Otherwise, then Austin Theory and who the hell is Intercontinental Champion? Still Ricochet? Wouldn't know. So we have 2 non-B champions, because they're not really given much to do with their B titles anyways, as our champions on the show. Why are we fighting on the show at all then? What's the point? And, you look at comics, which I will always equate comics and wrestling. Here's the 6-issue arc, and it's Batman against Penguin, and then that 6 issues is done, and then we're Joker, and then that 6 issues, and then we do Riddler, and then we do Bane. There's always someone new. Who's next for Roman? Drew, I guess. Who's next for him on Raw? No one. Are there people you could put in there and like quickly or with a couple weeks storyline? Sure. Is there anyone obvious? No. Has the show been on what? Near 30 years? If not 30 years, and they should know how to do it by now? Yup. I listened to Joe talk about Chikara stuff. I listened to John Thorne on the Cards Subject to Change podcast. And there are bookers out there that do something crazy where it's called long-term booking, where they have a plan. And I bet a lot of them have a B plan for, hey, if someone's injured, here's our backup plan. Here's something we can do here. Joe, because I think Adam would probably agree with me. Joe, if you're Sweet Brucey, what the hell is going on? Why can't they do long-term booking, let's say even a month out, so I know who's probably going to have a title shot at the next pay-per-view? This is ridiculous and awful, and it seems like WWE does this frequently. See also Brock Lesnar. Those are my thoughts for this week. A little cleaner this time as well. Bye.
So I'm with Kevin, of course. You know, I think WWE has long-term plans, but I don't think they have long-term booking. Like, they have certain matches in their chamber that they want to get to eventually, but, you know, sometimes the pieces get moved around. It's like, well, we had the idea to build toward Drew here, but so-and-so got hurt or so-and-so's not there. And again, I'm not making excuses for WWE, but I think WWE has plans, but you have to take into consideration that maybe the plans that WWE has are just bad. I agree. You know, I was even saying when they announced that it was going to be Cody versus Austin Theory for the United States title, like within seconds, I'm like, Cody's going to win the title. He's going to refashion it into a Nightmare Family belt. And then he's going to redo the U.S. Open Challenge like John Cena did and defend the title, like, and the TNT title and everything else, and like defend that title so that Raw, quote unquote, has a title, you know?
Yeah.
Since even though Roman can appear on both shows, but if you believe the advertising for SmackDown, literally in our backyard this Friday, Adam, they're advertising a special Raw attraction match of Omos versus Bob Lashley.
Oh, we got to go to this.
Yeah. But it's in a perfect world. You know, the U.S. title should be the number one contender belt on Raw. The Intercontinental title should be the number one contender title on SmackDown. And, you know, you could build programs to people while you build those titles up where, like, so-and-so defends the title a bunch of times. And then after whatever the current program is for the champion, then, like, the Intercontinental champion says, I'm going to win the belt. You know, I'm going to go for the belt, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, he wins, he loses, whatever, he wins. You know, you move the Intercontinental title, you have like a tournament or something like that, or a number one contenders match. But I think we talked about it last week where it's been said on TV at least like 2 or 3 times in the last 2 weeks that wins and losses matter, and like matches being taken off of like their win-loss record and stuff like this. So are WWE going to start going toward that? I don't know, but the fact that they're saying it is definitely interesting. Like I said, I think WWE has long-term, not booking, but plans. It's just that it's bad.
Yeah, I think that they sit down the day after WrestleMania and they write down like 2 or 3 matches just with the top guys. And usually it's like, you know, like something like Roman versus The Rock. It'll always be like one person they have and then maybe like a legend or like a celebrity or something like that. And they'll just say, okay, we're going to get to this point in a year, but they don't give a shit how they get there, whether it makes sense or not, or what happens to the other 98% of the roster along the ride. You know, right. It's like, we just need to get these 3 people to this spot, you know? Anyways, thanks for the call, Kevin.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. All right, next call.
Hey, guys. Calling in super last minute. Hopefully I can make it in. We have a show next week, the Gauntlet for the Gold. And obviously there's going to be a lot of surprises. And spoiler alert, Joe Sposto is making his return to AIW, and I'm so excited. Happy to break the news for everybody here in this voicemail. But either way, what are some surprises that you think we may see? Obviously, Joe may have more knowledge as far as AIW's history is going, but what do you think? Who are some surprise guests you think might come down? That's all I've got. Figured I'd chip in a little bit for the episode, make it a little longer. All right, that's all I got. You guys have a great one.
Well, again,
Oh,
not
go
only
ahead.
was that a late call, but I don't know who that was because they didn't say their name.
I know who that is. That is the strongest man in all the land, Arthur MacArthur, and the exclusive voicemail caller, like At Odds Wrestling, meaning that he cannot call it to any other show, nor would he want to. I just want to say, like, obviously, before you get into your thing, as you said, you will not be going to that show. I also will not be going there. I mean, if I was going to go to an AIW show, I'd probably go to one that's at the Odeon, like, maybe June. I don't know. That seems more likely, but so I wouldn't be going to this show either. But before you go and bury Sweet Artie, I'll just say thank you for the call.
So, some surprises that I'd like to see. In the AIW gauntlet for the gold. Now, I could say that I can't answer that because I might know.
Yeah.
And because I know, then if I say someone, that I'm not going to spoil an actual surprise, right?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't give away that, say Hollow Wicked's going to be in it, right? Because I know Hollow Wicked's not going to be in it, right? So I could say, I think Hollow Wicked's going to be in it, but I know Hollow Wicked's not going to be in it. So don't get your hopes up. Hollow Wicked's not going to be in it.
Is Hollow Wicked going to be in it?
Hollow Wicked's not going to be in it.
Oh, man. I thought you were doing a triple-double reverse on that.
So I don't know, Adam. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any thoughts? Because I can't answer that question because I'll incriminate myself.
I don't know anything about AIW previous to a year ago, so I can't be the one to tell you that. So I'm just gonna say it's gonna be an LVAC invasion, and they're gonna take over, and maybe bulking season defects to the good team, and I don't know. I'm making stuff up as I go along. I got nothing.
So I don't know. I don't know nothing. I do know something. I know a lot, actually, but I don't know how far the booking has gone on this, but maybe if I speak it into existence.
Yeah.
I don't think AIW has done this for their gauntlet for the gold. And again, it's a Royal Rumble ripoff sort of thing.
It's an homage.
Huh? Homage. A loving tribute.
Exactly.
Where you have number 1 and number 2 be Artie and Chuck Stone.
Ooh.
You do the old demolition spot,
Yeah.
where the two partners have to fight each other, and then maybe the next couple of guys come out are like Jay Brones, nobody worth anything. So even though it's every man for themselves, once there's another competitor in the ring, bulking seasons can work together. And then maybe somebody comes out that's just a little bit too much for the two of them to handle.
No such thing.
Well, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm putting the pitch out there. I don't know if Artie knows the guy in charge of AIW and he's in his good graces this week. But pitch that idea of you guys being number 1 and number 2 in the gauntlet for the gold.
All right, I like it.
Yeah. All right, last call. Pink button time.
Yay.
Hey, Joe and Adam, it's Ed. So this week they revealed, I don't know if they intended to, but everybody's seen it, I guess by now, the new Ring of Honor logo. I like it. It's pretty dope. It made me think, if you could sign 5 independent people or move them over from AEW to Ring of Honor, who would you pick? I'm just going off assuming that the champions will go, right? Because I think that's the perfect place for Joe. Because no one wants to admit that he's washed, but Joe's washed. But he's good for one really good match a month. And then Wheeler Yuta, because I feel like you build everything around him similar to Adam Page. But assuming that all the champions are going, here's who I pick. I go number 1, Kota Ibushi, because he seems pretty disgruntled, and I think an ROH crowd will really dig him. Same with Johnny Gargano. That man is perfect to sell out 2,000-seat arenas. I think he's perfect for that level. Then I would go Jake Atlas, because Wheeler Yuta, he's young, and I think you can build around him. Then, that women's division, I don't even know who's in it. I guess Mercedes Martinez. So I guess you need somebody for that. So I'd go to Cena. And then my last one, I had it written down somewhere. Where did I lost it? Oh shit, there it is. It's in my shoe. The last one I go with Stokely Hathaway. I mean, you don't do whatever. You just let Stokely be Stokely, and make money. So who would you guys pick for independent signings for Ring of Honor, or like moving someone over from AEW? Okay, bye.
All right, before we get into this, I literally am just now looking at this new Ring of Honor logo, and I fucking hate it. I like the classic logo, like the just the red and black, like hard to explain. But even the most recent one with kind of like, I don't know if it's like O's overlapping with like a I don't know how to describe it, but like this new one with like looks like a House of Pancakes logo. But again, I will defer to you for the most part, Joe. I'm just going to throw out some random names that kind of popped into my head. Ed mentioned Johnny Gargano, and I, of course, am a Gargano mark. But I'm going to say send over Ethan Page, give him a nice run at the top, maybe bring in Josh Alexander, but keep them apart. Maybe a little bit of the North teased as like a return. But, for the most part, I want to see a run of Ethan Page where he's not just like a sidekick. And you know what? Just speaking of what we've been talking about all show, I want a huge swerve. I want them to bring in top independent wrestler Avery Good.
I like the way you're thinking.
Yep.
I'm glad Ed found that thing that he lost. Could have been anywhere. You mentioned about the Ring of Honor logo, the classic Ring of Honor logo. There's a bit of like known trivia, but I don't think you know it, right?
I know very little, so it's safe to say.
So in the first like Ring of Honor like program or whatever it was, they thanked Fan because it was a fan designed logo that they ended up going with. And it was young fan Michael Paris. Now, you're not going to know who Michael Paris is, but you would know Michael Paris better as his at least NXT name of Joaquin Wilde.
Oh. Okay.
So before he got into business, he was just a fan, like an artist and everything else like that, and he designed that original Ring of Honor logo.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so Ring of Honor, right? We're bringing 5 people. And the way that Ed said it, it sounded like he was saying like moving people from the AEW roster over to Ring of Honor. But then he was like...
Yeah, he started with that, and then he's like, oh, and if you want to sign people from the indies,
Okay. So here's who I'm saying you're gonna put over there, okay? Whether we're like, obviously all the champions are coming over, whatever, right? So I'm looking like maybe like 2 guys, maybe 2 girls, and a tag team, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of moving Jake Atlas over, a little bit lower pressure for him, be able to build himself back up. And then that's the other thing is like, obviously guys from Ring of Honor technically should be able to move up to AEW, right?
Yeah, at this point, say what you want, but our Ring of Honor is the NXT to AEW.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you have him. I would try to grab Ponderosa, aka Deonna Purrazzo, right?
Yeah.
Don't let that match that she had on TV fool you. She's actually really, really good. I would try to grab someone from Japan, like maybe put like your Maki Ito over there, right?
Mm-hmm. Of
Again,
course.
a little lower profile, a little bit less pressure situation, whatever. Not to say that she's not a high level performer, but it is what it is. You have Samoan Joe, you have, some other legacy folks, Jay Lethals and people like that. I would look up maybe to like get Homicide to like an exclusive quote unquote Legends deal for Ring of Honor.
Okay.
And then for my tag team, just because this will be the way that we can get them against FTR, I would sign Dom Guarini and Kevin Koo. There's your 5. No, wait. If I miss someone, Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale's the other woman that I'd want as well. I think I said 6. I don't care. Deonna Purrazzo, we're going to take Maki Ito out. Willow Nightingale, Deonna Purrazzo, Homicide under a Legends deal, Jake Atlas, and Dom and Koo as a tag team.
I'd be fine with that as well.
Right.
Awesome.
All right, everyone, thank you very much for the calls. So plugs, I guess. We mentioned a bunch of times Jerry's Internet Wrestling Emporium, where you could watch the stuff that we assign for homework. You could watch the stuff that's not assigned for homework, like this past weekend's LVAC Bash at the Brewery. I don't have confirmation that the 2 Real Rumble shows will be on LVAC. I don't know if they'll be streaming live. I don't know if they'll be up there eventually, but I'm certainly going to work my damnedest on all parties involved to make sure that it does.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome.
Right. Tickets for the Real Rumble are on sale as we speak. The link to that will be in the show notes. Whether you're coming for the wrestling, you're coming for the movies, you're coming for both. It's 2 days. Make a weekend of it. Treat yourself, as they say. Use the promo code @odds if you're a new subscriber. And if you continue your subscription as a the longer you continue your subscription, we get a little bit of a kickback from Jerry. You could also help us out by going over to our TeePublic store, housed under the mothership, tinyurl.com/longboxheroes. You can get designs inspired by this show and everything from shirts to cell phone covers to notebooks. I have it on good authority that TeePublic in the very near future are going to be upping the price on their 2s and 3Xs. So get them in now while the sale is going. Another way that you can help us. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say they can join the At Odds Fitness Challenge.
That's not happening. That's not happening. You can also help us out by making any and all of your purchases through our Amazon affiliate link. It's in the show notes to every single one of these episodes. Does not cost you anything extra. They, Amazon, call it an advertising fee because if it wasn't for us telling you that they exist, you would not know that they exist. I call it the thing that makes Adam happy when he gets, at the end of the month, when he gets his cut of the fucking money.
Yeah.
Some of the notable purchases through the Amazon click-through this past week include somebody purchased the Blu-ray 4K Ultra High Definition of Sonic the Hedgehog Part 2.
Oh.
Somebody also purchased Warmie's Microwavable French Lavender Scented Otter.
Wait a minute. So this is a microwavable otter?
Apparently, it's a stuffed otter.
Oh, it's stuffed. All right.
Yeah. It does cute little human things with its hands, so it's free to go, right?
All right. Okay. I like it.
But yes, thank you for anyone who made a purchase either this week, last month, or forever. Every bit is appreciated.
Absolutely. And what else is appreciated? It's all the other shows on the soon-to-be-named network and the other shows that aren't on the network, but we still appreciate them too. And those shows are Longbox Heroes, Longbox Heroes After Dark, We Need Wrestling, Hit My Music, Final Wrestling Place. I always want to say it like Final Wrestling Place. Porch Talk, Viewer's Choice, WWE War, Wrestling Cheers, IWTV Guide, Pod Van Dam, Hellions Talks, Wings on Wings, and Between the Sheets. And no, I am not reinstating the A Show to the plugs. I will not mention the A Show on this podcast ever again. But that's all I got, Joe.
All right, that's all I got too. So I guess it's now time for Adam's favorite part of the show, not the segment itself, but this part.
Some might cost a little. Some might cost a lot. But I'm the $100 Vansky. And your figures will be bought. You know what doesn't get enough attention, Joe? My beautiful singing voice. Look out, DeWicki. Like, seriously, like if there's like a play or a musical in this area, I might go and audition. You never know.
Sign up for the Ritz Theater's summer camp. It's you and a bunch of 6-year-olds singing Let It Go.
Sounds like a plan. All right, Joe, I think that you teased this at the beginning of the show. We might have some overlap in purchases. And
I got one.
All right.
Yeah, we'll overlap on maybe one. And I got a funny story about it too.
Okay, well, I'll say the thing that I don't think that we overlap on from the LVAC Bash at the brewery, but I ended up with a 4-pack of Dan Champion Cream Ale, which are the cans that feature Big Dan, Sidney Bacabella, and Avery Good on it. I don't know how I got them. I'm pretty sure Dave bought it for me and just put them in the car, but they are currently in my refrigerator because I am a mint in can guy. And I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, am I going to drink these? Am I going to just leave them in the fridge? Am I going to drink one, but then I won't have a full set? I'm very torn on the fate of these, but I have them. That's all that I care about at the moment.
I'm sure that there is people who collect cans.
Mm-hmm.
And you could probably find like a tutorial on how to keep at least one without the stuff inside going shitty and like blowing up or turning to sludge or whatever could happen to these things, right?
Sure.
I say drink them, man. Go nuts.
I already did.
Okay.
Those are the ones. No, I mean, I went nuts with the ones that were at the bar. Here's a question for the listeners out there who might know. If I keep them in my refrigerator, will the cans like rot? Because people are saying like, oh, if you keep it room temperature, eventually the can's integrity will break down or the seal will break. But if I was to like store it in my fridge, basically turning my refrigerator into like a colder detolf, would that like preserve the beer? Not for drinking purposes, but just for collectability purposes. So these are the questions that go around in my crazy brain. So if anybody knows the answer, let me know.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If anybody out there knows. But the other thing I bought, and we might overlap on this, is I got the hottest bit of merch out there. Like, this is something that was highly anticipated, and this is the new Boar t-shirt featuring Erica Lee, the new Gummy Boar shirt.
Right. Now, I will say this. I purchased this as well.
Yep.
And weeks and weeks ago, when Boar said that he had new merchandise coming, it was going to be debuted, unveiled, whatever, at the LVAC show, I messaged him. I'm like, put one aside for me, right?
Yeah.
So I was there when the box was delivered to himself and Erica. Now, I do appreciate that the Boar trusts my judgment as much as he does, but this is one of those moments where I worked myself into a shoot, right?
Okay.
So he brings the box over and he shows me it's a really cool design. It's a white shirt and it's got like a design on the front and the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking and he's doing, and Boar could do this because he's got the Fu Manchu under the mask. And he starts stroking the Fu Manchu and he's thinking to myself, and thinking aloud, he's like, how much do you think we should charge for this? It's got a double print on it, front and back. A lot of colors, that sort of thing. And I'll say this. I want to preface this by saying that whenever I buy merchandise from any of my friends in wrestling, I always pay full price. And I appreciate them offering to me the good brother price. But I don't want to see you losing money on your stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's even a lot of times where they're insistent on giving me the good brother price, and I will absolve myself from buying. And I say, you know what? I'll see you at the end of the night or see you at the end of the weekend, because I would rather them sell them to the fans and get full price than them giving me the good brother price and end up losing money, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, I've had times. Everything okay over there?
Yeah, no, I just knocked something over. I'm good.
Now, granted, I've had times where, they've just gone ahead and like slipped a shirt or a piece of merch in my bag because I was being difficult and not wanting to accept the good brother price. And then they even lose more money because then they're giving me the shit for free. You're not going to see that out of the Boar. So he's stroking the Fu Manchu and he's asking me how much he thinks he should charge. And I'm like, well, front and back print. And I asked him if he does an upcharge on like the 2 or 3Xs, and he says he doesn't. I go, I think 25 is a fair price, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I paid him the $25 for the shirt. Now, I should have said, let me get mine first and lowball him. And then later said, oh, yeah, you should sell it for 25 after I already got mine for like 20,
Yeah.
But all the money goes to a good person, 2 good people in Erica and the Boar. And I did think it was funny after the event. We come backstage and I'm, glad handing saying my goodbyes and everything else like that. And somebody else comes through. It's like, oh, is the Boar still here? Somebody is out there wants to buy merch off you. And for a guy with a bum leg, there's a sale to be made. He moved pretty quick. I'm just saying.
Yeah, $25 for a shirt that is not only double-sided, but is also going to be split 2 ways. I got no beef with that. I think that's more than fair, So happy to buy it. And like at the back of that shirt, really showcases who the true faces of the LVAC are.
The faces?
The faces. All right. Speaking of maybe some people we just mentioned, I'm not going to consider this a weekly purchase on my behalf, but I just want to say that I just recently brokered a deal for someone. Maybe they are a host on one of the other soon-to-be-named network shows. I made sure that they got something that they've been looking for, and I'm not going to say who, and if you want to figure it out, I don't know, you got to go listen to all the other shows in the soon-to-be-named network. It could have happened on Wings on Wings, I don't know, but I'm sure somebody will mention it on their podcast, but I helped somebody find something. One other thing that is not really a purchase per se, I have mentioned before that scourge of this podcast and world's nicest person, Shawnee Caulfield, one of my nemesises in this life, had a Whatnot stream the other day, and I was on there, and I entered one of the giveaways, and I won one of his cards again, which I already have. But when I get it, I am going to give it away in the Facebook group and just kind of pass it along. But I just want to say that technically that is something that I got, and but I'm not going to keep it. Speaking of things I'm not going to keep, Joe, I got my mystery prize / giveaway / item for being a Major Pod Ultimate tier member. And I was an Ultimate tier member like last month or the month before when they were running this because I wanted to get that Major Bendy's opportunity for the one that was like limited to 150. And they sent me today in the mail a Major Pod back scratcher. So yay, back scratcher. I got it. I sent a picture in the group chat, and 5 minutes later I sold it in the group. So I'm happy to be rid of that.
Good.
Yeah. But okay, on to regular purchases. I might have made a couple purchases on Ringside because they were doing like whatever the holiday is it Labor Day, is it Memorial Day? I don't know, whatever the next appliance holiday is.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. So they're doing a Memorial Day sale, and one of the things that I had wanted from Ringside that they had sold out of recently, understandably, came back in stock, and that was the Target Legends Series 7 Razor Ramon figure. I don't know if you remember seeing that figure.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just a beautiful figure, which obviously this happens all the time. You're like, oh, I'll just pick it up down the road, and then he passes, and they go up in price, and yada, yada. But Ringside got them back in, and it was on sale, so I grabbed that. And in order to get the free shipping, this was also on sale as well. The Elite 92 Adam Cole figure, but this time the Chase with the camo pants, camo trunks, whatever. So I got those both from Ringside this week. And they shipped it in the smallest box imaginable. It was like this tiny little box that can fit in the palm of your hand, but they somehow were not destroyed.
So like I said, I didn't have any other purchases. I think I mentioned weeks and weeks ago what I got my wife for her birthday. Again, nothing for me. I did get her a Fudgy the Whale birthday cake.
Oh, that's a gift for everybody in the house.
It is a gift for everyone. That's true. But while I was out and about today, I did go run by my local Walmart, and they did have 2 of the new Jeff Hardy Elites.
Okay, that's newish. That's been out for a while.
But that's all they had.
Gotcha. Yeah, they usually have that Jeff Hardy and the Goldberg from that series too.
Yeah.
You know?
So they just had 2 Jeff Hardys. But I didn't need Jeff Hardy. I didn't buy him.
Nah, nobody needs Jeff Hardy. All right, so out in the wild this week, I bought the Target Legends Mean Mark figure. Just because, whatever, it's a cool figure. I like it. And it meets the rules. Again, it's a Target exclusive. So far, I've mentioned figures that were either exclusives or chases, so they're all allowed. And that was going to be it for In the Wild purchases for me. But here's the thing, Joe. I got extra boots on the ground. I got eyes on the streets when it comes to doll safaris now. I can do doll safari from the comfort of my own home, thanks to Toy Boy Todd. And I got a text the other day from Todd. It was a picture of the Target Legends Red Pants Chase Edge figure.
Oh, okay.
He's like, you needed this, right? And I'm like, sure do, buddy. So he grabbed that and added that to my collection. See, I don't even have to leave my house now. Todd might find me a Chase Brody Lee at this point. He's out enough looking for figures. Boy. So he got that for me in the wild. It was a Chase that I would not pay like extra for, but I wanted it if I found it out and about. So
right.
Happy to add that to the collection. So I have that the money from that back scratcher sitting in my PayPal account that I sold earlier today, and it wasn't even in there long enough to like warm my PayPal account, if that makes any sense, because it very shortly, within an hour, went out to Mr. Dylan Hornswoggle Postel, the star of 6 WrestleManias and Muppets Most Wanted,
and Leprechaun Origins,
Mr. Doo-Doo and Chocolate Fingers. I don't know. I'm leaving some stuff out, but he had posted in the pod group today, coincidentally enough, a bunch of Scott Hall figures that he bought with the intention of having Scott Hall sign the next time Scott worked Swoggle's promotion. So he didn't want them anymore, doesn't have that purpose for him anymore. And here's the awesome thing. I mentioned that all of the Scott Hall figures obviously have become in more demand. So what Swoggle did was he looked up eBay sales that were prior to Scott Hall's passing for comp sales.
Okay.
So I actually bought an NWO Scott Hall from WrestleMania Elite Series. And it's kind of, I'll send you a picture just so it's easier to explain, but it's like black and white NWO Scott Hall.
Sure. So
I have like the Last Call Hall and the Wolfpack. I just got the like Razor Ramon Legends, and then I picked up this, like I said, this NWO Hall that I just sent you. And it was like super, super cheap, like almost half of what they're going for on eBay right now. So
okay, I see the real effects.
Yeah, it's a nice little figure.
Yep, true effects rather. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So that is kind of it for regular purchases, Joe. That was your preamble. I'm getting into the main event here.
Whatever happened to the year of fiscal responsibility?
I got like 90 days to worry about that. It's okay. We got 90 days of business as normal, business as usual before we worry about that stuff. All right. I don't know if you know this, Joe. I alluded to this on Twitter, but I don't know if you've heard before me saying that. They opened a vintage toy store 5 minutes from my fucking house. I found out about this on Facebook because a kid I went to high school with, like, tagged himself or checked himself in as being there. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And this is going to be real inside, but it's just me talking to you. But if you know on Route 6 in Dixon City, it's right across from like the Sheets by like Five Guys. It's called like Monstars Toys. And apparently they are only open Fridays and Saturdays, which is like really difficult for me because those are like prime importing and exporting hours. But because Friday we were going to LVAC, I took the day off. So I was like, okay, I am going to this store and, see what they have. And here's the thing. I walked in with very, very low expectations because it seems like every vintage toy store in like the greater northeastern PA / Binghamton area is generally disappointing. But they had like, Marvel Legends, McFarlane Multiverse, Funko Pops, NECA figures, Transformers, G.I. Joe Classified, but then they had all this, like, a lot of Lucy wrestling figures, which aren't my thing, but I'm sure a lot of people would like this. Lucy old G.I. Joes and Power of the Force and Transformers, and a lot of, like, big ticket items behind the counter. And it was like a really nice, well-organized store. And from what I'm hearing, the guy basically, they're only open 2 days a week because they're relocating their store from New York City.
Oh, okay.
The family's moving here. So like eventually it will be like a 6-day or 7-day, whatever it is. But he's like, half of my stuff is here. Like the rest of it will be here, over the coming weeks. And they also eagerly and actively buy stuff. So as much as I love selling Funko Pop, doing the Funko Pop purge to our comic shop, Dave at Comics on the Green don't want no wrestling figures,
That's
so
true.
This gentleman has already expressed interest in buying a lot of the stuff that I either no longer want or no longer physically have the room for. So like, yeah, I encourage you to check it out, or anyone else that's in the area. It was a very nice store. Honestly, if I didn't look at everything that was in there, because I was probably there for an hour and a half or so. And I just didn't want to be somebody that was like going to hang out all day, but I feel like I didn't see everything. So I definitely want to go back. But as I'm walking around, I did find one thing that I was like, oh, I'm going to buy this. Cause I was like, I want this. Then I looked at the price and it was well beneath what I've seen them go for on eBay. And if you remember, Joe, after they got out of the wrestling figure business, Jack started making UFC figures.
Yes.
Very posable with cloth goods, like outfits and whatever. But I bought the UFC Brock Lesnar figure.
Oh, okay.
Which is basically just a WWE Brock Lesnar figure. But it was maybe $10, $15 less than I've seen it on eBay for, because I priced them a while ago and I was like, yeah, they're a little bit pricey for right now. So it was a really good price. I was happy about that. I actually saw whoever the freaking guy is from AC/DC that Todd loves, the one that, I don't know, the one with the stupid baseball cap and the schoolboy outfits.
He'll never hear this. So
yeah,
yes.
He'll never know. But yeah, they had like a McFarlane figure of him. And so I sent a picture of that over to Todd. So he has a lot of different stuff. And I ended up buying, I saw something and it was expensive, but I'll tell you, Joe, it was a really good price. And I'm going to send you a picture of it now as I'm talking. But because I had already said that I wanted the Lesnar figure, I was like, all right, how much for the Lesnar and this? And he came back at me with a good price. I came back out with him with another price. And then we did the thing. And I offered to send him PayPal friends and family so I wouldn't have to use a credit card. And I ended up buying this. And it is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Doomsday figure, as in Superman Doomsday.
Hey, I like that.
Yeah, and it's very hard to tell, maybe in the second picture, but the packaging, it makes it look like he's busting through the packaging.
Yeah, you could really tell better in the second and third pictures, yes.
Yeah. So this was something that it's not like a shared exclusive. It was something that if you did not buy it at San Diego Comic-Con, maybe like in 2008, 2009, something like that, if you didn't buy it then, you weren't getting it. And it had always been on my radar as something that I wanted. Because as much as I like to pump up, Nightfall and Azrael and all that stuff as being like the impetus of me collecting comics, The Death of Superman was literally the first comic book I ever read. So I like this Doomsday. And again, it was something I wanted for a while. I got it at a good price. It was not inexpensive, but it was a really good price. And let's just say I pretty much got the Brock Lesnar figure thrown in for free. So it was a good deal.
So I was just checking out their Facebook, their social media, their website and stuff. In one of the first pictures that they have up, they have an animated Beetlejuice action figure, which one I never knew existed.
Oh.
And two, that looks really nice. Definitely maybe you should go do a toy vlog or something up there,
It's funny because I can't remember I do remember the name and I'll bury him here. There's a toy store in Binghamton right next to the Walmart, and it's called like Maximus Toys or Maximum Toys, something like that.
Okay.
And I was there. I've been there a couple times. I've never really bought anything there because it's mostly all brand new stuff. It's like they walk over to the Walmart next door and they just buy all the figures that are there and they move them over to the toy store. But it's mostly like Funkos and Marvel Legends and McFarlane Multiverse stuff. But I was there maybe a month ago and I saw a Funko Pop that one of my coworkers wanted. And he had said, "Oh, if you ever see this, let me know. I might want to buy it." So I saw that Funko and I took out my phone and I went to take a picture of it and I got yelled at by the guy behind the counter. He's like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm taking a picture. My buddy's looking for this. I want to let him know you have it. No pictures. So I was like, you know what, dude? I don't give it, fuck you. So I took the picture and then I left. I was like, I'm sorry that the toy business is so goddamn lucrative that you don't want secret shoppers, trying to get a better deal or whatever. But on the flip side of that, when I went to this toy store, kind of sensitive of what I went through at the one in New York, I wanted to send that picture to Todd of that AC/DC guy. And I was like, hey, man, you mind if I take a picture? He's like, of course. Why wouldn't I? And I told him the story. He was like, no, why wouldn't I want you to tell people that we have stuff here,
Right.
So the guy seemed very receptive. And he actually asked me, because he's like, oh, what are your plans today? I was like, oh, I'm going to a wrestling show and yada, yada. And he was like, hey, maybe you could tell me what's with every toy store having wrestlers there for signings. So I was like, well, there's this podcast that has... I was like, it made collecting toys more acceptable, and it nurtured this culture of being proud that you're a toy boy. And that podcast is obviously at odds with wrestling. But so it was just cool, and maybe I'll do a vlog that you need to come down, and we'll just make Todd record it all, and we'll just walk around. We'll walk around the store and do a live vlog.
If they're out, once they have more reasonable hours, because I think I see that they're only open 10 to 6, 2 days a week,
10 to 6 Friday and Saturday. But like I said, it's gonna, and obviously not sponsors, but I just had a good experience. So cool. we'll definitely have to make a trip of it.
I got stuff I got stuff, I could look for,
Oh yeah. Like I said, I'm looking forward to maybe just clearing out a wing of the toy room. Right. I gotta get rid of some stuff.
So that's another thing that I need to put a caveat on is I'm on a bit of a spending freeze for myself.
Okay.
Not for any sort of financial responsibility or whatever it is, but my birthday is coming up here in some indeterminable date. And I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to buy this for myself. And then, somebody comes to me and is like, hey, so-and-so was asking what to get you for your birthday. It's like, well, I just bought this for myself, so not this, right?
Yeah.
And I have an Amazon wish list, and it's not like I'm looking for people to buy me shit, far from it, but it's more so of when I see something, I put it on my list, and if I see the price come down, or, whatever, right? Or if it's a pre-order or something, or whatever, it just goes on there, and it sits. There's books and games and all sorts of shit that's been on there for years and years and years, just because the price either hasn't come down enough for me to be worth buying or just whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that exists. So my wife knows when family members or whomever comes around and says, hey, I want to get Joe something for his birthday. She goes, go look at his wish list, see what he has on there. So now, granted, there's stuff that's on, and there are toys, sure. And there's toys on there that, because they're not immediately in stock, they're through third-party sellers on Amazon, which are ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
So I'll just throw it out there, the superior Spider-Man version of Dr. Octopus. I think the Amazon sellers think that's a $125 figure. And I don't think anyone in my family or my friends are going to get that for me for my birthday. So if I go to this place and they have it there, and it's less than $125, I would probably buy it for myself.
Yeah. I think that's the problem is a lot of the stuff that I bought this week has been stuff of opportunity or where it's it's a great price. And I'm like, oh man, I know I could wait and buy it another day, but I'm getting it at a good deal and all that stuff. So I can't resist the deal. All right, Joe. I guess that's probably it if you were a normal person and not a sociopath, because I got one more.
Oh my goodness, come on.
Again, this was an opportunity thing. I sent you a picture of a 2-pack of wrestling figures that I already own. And if you remember, maybe like a couple months ago, this was in my weekly purchases. And that is the debut figures, the rookie figures of the Iconics. The Iconics, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. Do you remember that 2-pack?
I do.
So here's the thing, Joe. On eBay this week, what I'm about to send you popped up. And I know, I'm sorry, I'm going to make you wait for a second. It says sending. Sent and sent. There's 2 pictures. Well, it's a lot of pictures, but it's 2 groups of pictures.
Oh, hey now. Okay.
So I have the test shot prototypes of both of those figures now. So here's the thing. The Billy Kay popped up on eBay a week or 2 ago. And it was a certain price. We'll just say it was a certain price. So these are not expensive. You can very easily look them up. But I thought to myself, all right, A, that's a price that I'm not willing to pay. And B, I kind of want both of the Iconics. And then a couple days ago, the Peyton Royce got put up by the same seller at half the price of the Billy Kay. And the Billy Kay went on sale for 50% off. So both Billy Kay and Peyton Royce were available. Buy it now for the same price as what just Billy Kay was by herself, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I was kind of on the fence. I was like, I don't want to drop more money, because again, in 90 days, the year of financial responsibility will start. So I need to reach out to an impartial person, someone who will weigh the pluses and the negatives as to whether or not I should buy these. A man who by no means would be swayed or influenced to tell me to buy them without making sound decisions. And that is, of course, I reached out to the Boar, and the Boar carefully weighed it. As you say, he rubbed the Fu Manchu, and he said, you know what? I think you should buy it. Buy them both. And I was like, you know what, Boar, you're a smart, wise man. And I went ahead and bought them because I said to myself, what happens if a week from now, one of them sells? What if there's a Billy Kay fan, and who wouldn't be? But maybe they buy that one. And then what? I'm just going to have a Peyton Royce? No, I don't want just one of them. I wanted the pair. And it's a test shot. So maybe there's 2 of them in the world. Maybe there's 3 of them in the world. There's not a lot of them, but I needed them. So that was my final purchase because apparently I am just fully going down the rabbit hole of prototypes and test shots.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So what's the display on this? Do you have your eyes on any other ones without tipping things off, I guess?
Yeah, so if you actually and by all means, go ahead and just search WWE test shot on eBay. This one seller from China has, and they have been selling multiple test shots, and they're all based on basics, and they're all kind of from more than 4 or 5 years ago. And there's tons of them up there. You can go and get a Daniel Bryan test shot, and I've thought about it, Daniel Bryan test shots when he was the Planet's champion with the beard. There's Kevin Owens, there's Roman Reigns, there's Becky Lynch. So there's lots of them up there. There was an Alexa Bliss because I'm looking for stuff that I like. But it was the Alexa Bliss when she was the host of WrestleMania and she was wearing a suit, and ain't nobody want that. So, but I keep my eye because this guy will literally list 10 of them a day and multiple times a day. And they're cheap. They're usually $50 or less. So it's not bad. But I don't have any plans. If I saw a Broski one, I would scoop it up before he gets it. Just, just out of spite / fun. But other than that, I don't have any plans. Like I said, I'd buy an Alexa if I saw it. But I don't have any other plans otherwise. And that's pretty much the only thing this guy is selling is test shots for basics. I haven't seen any ultimates, or not ultimates, but elites or anything like that.
So this guy's like so obviously, you have your eyes towards some other ones, but you have a couple of these test shots, just not. You have an Azrael one and you have this one, right? Is there another one I'm missing?
Yeah, no. So I have the Azrael and I have obviously both of the Iconics. But for you asked about display purposes.
Yes.
Here's the thing. For a nice little photo shoot, I will probably clear off a shelf of the Detolf and put the 2-pack in there, on card, and put the Lucy prototypes in front of it and snap a picture.
Sure.
But beyond that, honestly, they're probably going to get the Ziploc and tote treatment, because
oh boy,
it doesn't really fit my current layout. You know what I'm saying? Because I have 2 Detolfs full of Transformers. I have two Detolfs full of Azrael, and I have 2 Detolfs of wrestling. But it's all I'd say that's 90% Major Pod. But then I have my Slim Jim Macho and my one Brody Lee and a couple my Orange Cassidy shelf with the autographed Orange Cassidy and his Micro Brawler and stuff like that. So I can maybe, if I just wanted to put the prototypes in one of the miscellaneous wrestling shelves, I can do that, but there's no room for the mint on card ones to stay out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Depends on how many of these I end up getting. Like I said, I don't see myself getting a lot. If I see certain people, I might, but we'll see.
Well, good luck in this new quest. Hopefully nothing too extreme goes up in the next 91 days.
Oh, I know. Then I'd be destitute.
Right. You'd have no choice. You'd have to pass on it,
I would be, unless it's Azrael, then I'll sell the car.
Right.
But that's all I got, Joe. That's a small weekly purchases this week.
If you were out there encouraging Adam to do these sort of things, I'm going to ask you to please stop. I know you said that the boar assisted you maybe in making one of these decisions,
He just told me that it was a smart move, and he fully supported it. That's all. And like I said, Todd, he was just doing God's work by pointing out chases to me, really everybody it was a team effort from top to bottom.
Right.
But don't worry. Next week, we'll talk about you pre-ordering the My World Major Bendies.
No. Okay. So it's,
I'm telling you could sell that Conrad.
I already have 3 people that are willing, hey, I only want Conrad. I don't want the double J's, right?
Oh, see, perfect.
But here's the problem. If I get the 2 double J's, now I just have 2 bendies that I have nothing to do with. Now I got to have more of a double J collection. I'm happy with just getting the retro when that comes in, right?
Yeah.
I hope these people that just want the Conrads and not the double J's, because I'll tell you this, I had some free time on Monday and I was looking at Whatnot. I may have been able to skirt things around to sign up for Whatnot without giving them a credit card number, because I'm tricky like that. So I'm watching and they had a double J bendy, the original bendy.
Ooh.
And I'm like, okay, if I get that, then I could make the I could validate it in my head to get the other ones. Then I have all 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they really push that in the group, on Whatnot stuff sells for super cheap. Adam, does stuff sell for super cheap on Whatnot?
It depends on how many people are in the room, but for the most part, no. No. I
think the double J bendy sold for $48.
Okay, but what's the comp on eBay? What are they? Is that high compared to what they sell for? Is the double J a $60, $70 bendy, and so $40 would be a deal? That's the thing. Like I said, I spent like $25 on Whatnot for that Winter Soldier figure a couple weeks ago, but that was a $40 figure.
So it's listed on here as a buy it now, right now for $30.
Okay. How's the card compared to what you saw on Whatnot?
Well, it was Brian's personal one, so if that makes it special or something, you know.
Oh, okay. You were watching the major stream.
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought it was a random Whatnot. Oh, okay. Yeah. Anything on the Major Pod stream, you pay a premium because, and I've said this before, people want to be able to say that they bought something from those people. So I've seen Marky sell Peg Warmer Scorpio Sky AEW figures for like $30 plus shipping, when you can go to any Walmart on the planet and find 20 of them for $20, you know?
Yeah.
So there are some head scratchers there. Anything in the Major Pod group, for the most, unless it's Broski's like loose Funko Pops, you know, everything goes for a premium.
Right.
But
now, like I said, I don't need to start a Bendy's collection, but thank you to everyone who offered to take the con right off my hands.
All right, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure that you were reminded of your negligence of not getting them.
Right. I will be.
All right. Short show, Joe. I think we're good.
Short for us, I'd say. Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hopefully you enjoyed Adam and all of his expenditures and our retelling of the events of the LVAC show. Again, this is episode 189, At Odds with Wrestling. Be safe out there and enjoy some wrestling.
You're listening to the soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of Podcast Network.